What's up, guys? In today's podcast, we want to talk about the surprising secret to listing consistently on eBay, and that's to make listing automatic. All the different parts of listing, titles, pictures, descriptions, pricing, research. If you turn that into an automatic process, then you don't have to think about it. And I think overthinking is really the biggest thing that cripples people.
Totally, I agree with that. I think that, when you bring in a lot of research, a lot of second guessing, a lot of fixing, trying to make everything 100% perfect, that's when a lot of things slow down in the listing process. So, we all strive to be perfect or as perfect as possible, but, we can't let the perfection cripple us. So, you know, maybe something like what part of the process is most crippling to you inside of your business?
For me personally, it's just deciding how many listings I want to do. And then, I had two things happen to me. One, I had an employee steal a laptop, so she didn't work for me anymore. And then on my other location, that employee had a baby, and
Mm.
that was the end. So I lost two people. So now my thing that cripples me is just deciding where do I want to be. I'm cruising right now at 105 listings. It's comfortable. How big do I want to be? But I learned from you, you can set up a process so that it just does the same thing over and over again, week after week and day after day. So that part I understand, but how big do I want to be? That's been making me wonder because everything is getting more expensive, which makes me think I need to be bigger every year. But then I also know how much planning goes into being bigger. There's a lot of planning because if you set it up so it's going to be forever, then you really do take your time and think about how do I want my photos to look? How do I want my titles to be? Then once you decide, you don't have to decide anymore. And I think maybe that's what people are doing. They haven't decided on how they do business. And that's what makes it so difficult.
Well, let me ask you this. Why do people who do this themselves have a difficult time reaching the listing goal, often get crippled by the listing process, but the employees don't? The employees don't get crippled by the listing process.
Right. They never do because it's clear and it's the next step that they're working on. So as an example, I'm following your method of taking photographs first, then listing. They don't have to think about whether they're going to list first or photograph first. And the process for us is you photograph all the items in a row, list all in a row, and there isn't any other way to, there's the only way to do it. So they photograph until they're done and they list until they're done. There's no
And
negotiation.
they don't care.
They don't
They don't
care.
care about the item. They don't care maximizing every single penny. They
Mm-hmm.
they don't care. All they care about is getting the job done and going home.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I look at it as well. I just want to get this done and then go move on to something else that I want to do. And I'm guilty of it as well. Like I've turned an 8 hour day into an 18-hour day for no reason at all.
That's right.
Like we've all done it, we've all been there. But like when you do reel it back in and it becomes an 8 hour day again, like you just feel so much more better and so much more accomplished. But it is interesting to think about that. If you gave me your items, I could list them fine because I don't care. And if I gave you my items and they were just my items, anybody can list them because they don't care. But suddenly, like when they're your own items, it's like a whole other thought process or a whole other step in the process because like it's your actual items. And maybe do people think that like their items are more special and worth more money?
I think so. I think that their items, if you pick the item, you've got the emotional attachment, maybe of you looking it up when you found it, and then you want to depict it a certain way. Because on the call, I listed an ambulance that I had never heard of. I looked on the bottom of it, it had a number, typed that in the Google, came up with it. I listed one that was similar to that. There wasn't anything emotional about that, but I'm not the one that purchased it. Maybe if you got it at a garage sale and you're thinking about the person you bought it from, and you know a lot about toys, and you want to really let the customer know that this is part of this series that only came out one time in the 1980s, and you want to really let the customer know that, you might it might take up half your day listing one item.
Okay, so are the people who you source from, are they emotionally tied when they sell the item and present it to you?
No.
So why are eBay sellers the only ones that get caught up in the emotion of the item?
I think that win some, lose some kind of mentality is what is the difference, because the vendors that I work with, they know on some items I make more than I'm supposed to, and on other items I make less than I'm supposed to, and it just evens out. I
Right.
think if you think about it as a whole, you don't
Right.
get crippled.
Right. And that's exactly the conversations that we've had here before, is like nobody thinks about or remembers the items that you got all the money for or more money than you were supposed to.
Right.
Like I've sold many shirts that have a spot on the front for more money than I've sold shirts that are in perfect condition.
Mm-hmm.
So like you win some, you lose some, and at the end of the day, it all averages out. And everything inside of this business is just about averages. We have an average time it takes to take photos, an
Mm-hmm.
average time it takes to list, an average to do everything. But like we can't have our average time that it takes to list be the most, you know, cumbersome or the most time consuming part of the day, because that is all that truly matters at the end of the day, is having a uniform policy on how you format your titles, having a uniform policy of how your pictures go up, how your description is written, your return process, you know, your pricing process, your handling time. All of that needs to be uniform. So it's just a matter of exchanging the data for the item. Tommy Hilfiger shirt, polo shirt, blue, red, medium, large, keyword, upload photos, edit the description, edit the price, click submit. That's as long as it can take if you're listing an item.
Well, this is another thing that stuck with me that you said. We're not doing it at Olympic speed. We're just doing it in order at a normal pace. So when you said that your workers can take 25 sets of photos an hour, I told my workers, let's do 26 photos an hour, because I want a little bit of buffer in case something happens. That extra one item over the course of a month makes up for whatever. So I was thinking, okay, that's good enough. Is that Olympic speed? It's not. That's a
No,
couple minutes an item.
it's 2 minutes an item. It's more
Yes.
than 2 minutes per item.
Yeah, it's not Olympic speed. It's just non-distracted work. If you pick up an item and set it down and stage the item and then take the pictures in it, even if you don't have a specific order, you're just taking 12 pictures the best you can, it's still only going to take 1 to 2 minutes.
So where is the off ramp to not being able to take 25 sets of photos in 1 hour? Where do people get caught up, and where do people, because if I presented you with an item,
Yeah.
stood behind you with a stopwatch,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, go as slow as you need to go, so this takes more than 2 minutes to photograph,
Right. Couldn't do it.
12 photos in 2 minutes, you would turn around and go, that's 2 minutes. And it would be not 2 minutes.
Yeah. That's right. If you just only took photos, I guess it's the exceptions to the rule. It's the lack of uniformity. We talked about at the beginning of the episode creating some uniformity. And I think the fact that people do eBay whenever they want to every single day or when they feel like it, that's also how they treat the photography process versus when you hire someone, it is a specific time. They come in and do a specific number of items. They go home. It's simple. It's straightforward. It's clear. When you're working for yourself, though, maybe it's not clear. And I always watch Isaiah's posts in the group saying, I want to watch somebody that can do the fastest possible thing, but that's not really how it's more based on averages.
Yeah, it's based on averages. And,
Yeah.
employee or no employee, like pre-employees, I had a job to do. I had a job to list 120 items. That was my job. Photograph 120, list 120, get all of my items shipped out, and, practice good customer service, go out and find more items. That was the job to do today. And, you know, maybe you said it a little bit earlier today in the morning call, is like, maybe, you know how we talk about, maybe people should run at half capacity. I think that that's like the best way to do it, but like half capacity is not urgent either. So like the person who has to list 5 or 10, when do you do it? You could do 5 or 10 at 8:30 at night if you wanted to, and you can screw around for the entire day.
Hmm.
So like where is the balancing point to like where you're not redlining and you're running your business safely, but also you're not in neutral.
It sounds so weird. It's hard to say this without sounding like an a-hole, but it's easier to do eBay at 50 listings or more a day because you have to focus.
Yeah.
There's no way to, you can't accidentally list 50 items a day. You have to have a system.
Right. You have to, because like if you're gonna do 5 today, and if that's what you do, no problem. But like if you're gonna do 5, like you could do 5 at 8 o'clock at night,
Hmm.
or not at all. It's only 5. Do it tomorrow. But like if you're gonna do 50, you can't wait until 8 o'clock, and you can't go. I'll make up for it tomorrow.
You can't
It's
make it
it's
up.
100.
That's right.
So like there has to be a balancing point within yourself and your business, and you have to make that decision of like, can't red line because red line is dangerous. I need to
Yep.
cruise at the speed. Everyone needs to find their speed limit.
That's right.
Neutral, who cares about neutral? No one drives in neutral. No one red lines. You have to find that comfortable speed limit. You have to find your 45 miles an hour. And that way you have an urgency to get your work done, and then you can maintain a schedule, but also you're not killing yourself at the end of the day. And maybe if you do find like that 45, that cruising speed, if you find that cruising speed, then you can make a schedule. Because if someone came to us and said, hey, my listing goal is 5 per day, set me up with a schedule.
Yeah.
Do it whenever you want. It's 5.
Do it whenever you want. I know that is the answer.
Right. But if someone said, hey, I'm trying to do 20, trying to do 35, I'm trying to do 50, set me up with a schedule, no problem.
Hmm. I think that it might be easier to drive a little faster because there's a certain pace that makes sense. If you were trying to take 5 sets of photos in an hour, it would be it'd be difficult. I don't know. I like this cruising speed because I feel like my whole day is cruising speed. Otherwise, I couldn't do it again the next day. You
The,
can't.
the,
I was redlining for a while, and it was very difficult to sustain.
but you also said it this morning on the morning call. Yesterday, you cruised for 17 hours and it was fine.
It was completely fine.
And 17
Yeah.
hours, I want to clarify, it wasn't 17 hours of work, but
Right.
17 hours you were on the go, had to pick up the kid, had to make dinner, had to do laundry, had to do
Right.
dishes.
Hmm.
That's how people live. But when you wake up and when you go to sleep, it's an action-packed day. And if you're cruising, you look fine, you look healthy, you look alive, but you were just cruising through the day. And when you cruise, it's easy to make the transition between task to task.
That's right.
So
Yeah, it's
like I like to sit and
consecutive action.
cruise. I like to cruise so that way next task cruise, next task cruise. There's no
Hmm.
starting, there's no stopping.
That's
So
right.
like I'm doing listings, mail is here. Mail's done. All right, let's worry about dinner. Dinner's done. All right, let's worry about some customer service that came. Like when
Hmm.
you're constantly cruising and running at a good pace, like you could do that 17-hour day until the end of time.
Well, you even mentioned that you're sometimes you're making rulers on the back porch because that is just something to keep the gears going,
Yeah, keep me busy. Yeah,
keep you
that's
busy.
why I do it. I do it on Saturday because I don't have much going on Saturday, but I need something just to keep me busy because I don't like to start and stop. Like when I stop, I'm done. I'm done. I don't do anything else when I stop. I'm finished.
Mm.
So I try to get everything done. So that way when it's done, it's time to eat, it's time to chill. And maybe that's the same thing for a lot of people. Like when they're done, they're done. But like they get done before they get done.
They get done before they're done. That's
Right.
right.
And for you on the 17-hour day, if you were done and go, all right, I picked up the kid, I'm done. Dinner still needs to get made. The dishes still need to get unloaded from the dishwasher. Like
Hmm.
all of that stuff still needs to get done. But like you have to be done when you're finished, not just done because I'm maxed out. Because like I did 25 and that's it. I'm done.
So Isaiah brings up, and this has come up in a few calls, when photographing your listing, it's mentally draining. I only get mentally drained from inactivity, actually. The activity part of it is cruising, unless you're maybe moving at a pace that's not sustainable. And I don't know, and Dylan is saying, are you incapable of doing it or is it just uncomfortable? I think if you do it long enough, it doesn't feel like anything. It doesn't feel uncomfortable or comfortable. It just feels like something you do.
It's just something you do. And like,
Yeah.
we could all do something we don't want to do, and that is mentally and physically draining for 8 hours a day,
Mm-hmm.
and all draw a paycheck from somebody else. Like, that is the flip side of the coin. Like, if photographs are mentally draining, and you clock out after that, like, always remember, you can go back and work at Pizza Hut and there ain't no clocking out just because you're mentally drained because there was a party of six. So
Mm-hmm.
like, this is all stuff that we have to think about, like how much real sacrifice, or like how much grit, or like how much are we going to overcome like these mental setbacks or these mental hurdles, and just grind through it, get our photographs done, get our listings done. Because like a lot of it is not like back breaking work, it's just work. And without doing the work, like, you're not going to survive, you're not going to succeed in this business or in any business.
Maybe momentum is something that you really, really can take advantage of if you start a system where you move from one task to the next. Because I always have something to do. Christine had mentioned that her listings aren't working right now because eBay is saying that the oops, something went wrong. That's happened to me. It happens to me all the time. We just do something else.
Yeah, there's always something to do inside of this business. Like, you can sort items, you can prep items, you can take more photos. Like, if eBay doesn't work, you jump on something else real quick. We just don't throw our hands up in the air and try again tomorrow. I mean, that is a solution. We just try again tomorrow. But like, how many times do you do that before like nothing ever gets accomplished or ever gets done? And it's just, sometimes it's super frustrating, you know, when people get stumbled on the minor setbacks, because like,
Yeah.
if eBay's not working today, like, that doesn't matter 2 weeks from now.
Mm-mm.
And like, if I said, hey, remember last Wednesday when eBay wasn't working, like, that was rough, right? And like, you forget about it because it wasn't a serious problem in hindsight. But like, if if it wasn't working, or if you had a setback, or if you missed your listing goal for 5 days, and now you're off the wagon, like, that's all it takes is like one day to get you going in the wrong direction, especially with people who don't have like a rock solid, consistent listing goal. Like, 1 or 2 days can like get them off of their habit. And then you never see them again on eBay because they just don't list anymore.
That is the craziest observation. In our group, there are people who are rock solid, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months in a row of listing. 2 or 3 days goes by and they don't list and they fall
It's
completely
crazy.
off, and it just shuts down their whole store and they don't get back the momentum and we never hear from them again.
It's really crazy, man. And like, I understand like stuff happens to everybody. Stuff happens all the time. Like, but for me, like, eBay is the solace. Like, you just go focus on eBay, and like the whole world is like closed out. It's just in a bubble between you and just working on the computer. And like, for me, that was like the best thing that I needed, almost therapeutic. You run around, you work all day, you run around, you do a bunch of stuff all day. You got family you got to do, but like, you sit down and you just plug in your headphones and knock out your listing goal. Like, think to yourself, you have that one-on-one time with yourself to just think about what you're currently doing, think about your future goals, and like, you knock out your listings, and then you unplug your headphones and you're back to the chaos of the world.
I think when you, I mean, back to the topic of whether or not it can help you list more items. I think that I have to tell people a lot on my YouTube channel. Don't copy me because your system is going to be slightly different. You can't pick up the same thing as what other people are doing because you everything on eBay is customized, whatever you're doing. So if you put your headphones on, you start listing and you're really paying attention, you will start to think of how to make it easier for yourself. That naturally starts to happen. And that it's the opposite though. If you watch other people do it, it will cripple you. It's really hard actually to watch somebody else do it and then go back because now you're thinking about how they do it and how you do it, and it's really complicated. If you're constantly doing it yourself, it's easy to apply what other people are doing. Like for example, when I saw the Lazy Susan setup that was going through our group, I was thinking to myself, okay, it doesn't make sense for me to make one because that takes some time and they're relatively inexpensive. I got my Lazy Susan at Bed Bath and Beyond for $5. So that's not worth making it or ordering the parts online. You can just have it shipped to your door or go pick it up. Most people have that in their area. But then I set it up one time with the shoes, and now I could have any shoe listing habit that I want because I have the setup, I have the lighting that I like, I have the format that I like, and I want everyone to think about things like this. And you can research a lot, but if you just list every day for a week or two, you will start to develop your own processes. That's really, really important.
Yeah, definitely. And even for like for the employees, like they, when they were first hired, like we weren't quite reaching the listing goal that I wanted. A couple weeks later, we're almost reaching it. A couple weeks after that, we're reaching it. Now, a year later, like we're smashing the goal every single day. And that's because like inside of our processes, they have found ways individually that they can make it easier for themselves. But you can never get to that point where you can find the shortcuts, or you can figure out where you can do something a little bit differently to make it go faster if you're constantly changing your process. If you're constantly changing your process, you never figure out that shortcut that is going to make the difference of listing 10 items or 15 items in the same amount of time every single day.
So our objective with this group is to help people save time and make more money. And making more money means either listing items so they sell faster or listing more items. So let's just take a step back. Does everybody need to establish their baseline? How do you look at it? Do you look at it at number of listings per day? Do you look at it as in like as much work you can do in an hour? How do people get on track and start developing some momentum?
The two most important metrics that I look at every single day is how many items are going to get listed and how many items sold that day.
Okay.
Those are the two metrics that I look at. So if you're going to figure out how many items you're going to list per day, you need to figure out how much time you can dedicate to listing, or how much time you could dedicate to the business. And if you could dedicate 8 hours, you need to figure out how many items you could do per hour all the way through. We have the calculator in the document that includes finding items, prepping items, photo, listing, put away, packing, everything. You need to figure out how many you could do per hour, and then multiply it over 8 hour shift and figure out where you're comfortable. If it's a 4 hour shift, then figure out where you're comfortable. But without establishing that baseline, you're just blowing in the wind. Like if you have no listing goal and I say, Chris, how many are you going to list this week? Don't know. Okay. Tell me your schedule if you don't know how many items you're going to list this week. I'm not sure about the schedule. And you ask me to place $1,000 bet on whether or not you're going to be successful this week, I'll place the bet on not being successful. But if I ask Isaiah how many shoes are you going to list this week, and he says I'm going to list 30 a day, 210, and I'm going to say, okay, what's your schedule? And he can tell me his schedule, I'll put the $1,000 bet that he's more likely to succeed.
Yeah. So if I showed up at your spot on Monday, ready to work, would I have to think of anything or would you just explain what happens during the day?
You wouldn't have to think of anything. I would bring you in. I would probably not even introduce you to the people. Just everyone gives a head nod. You get into the position where we're going to take photos.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably going to take 2 or 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
Wait for you to take the initiative to reach for the camera. That
Mm-hmm.
tells me you're ready. So I'll explain what I'm doing along the way, and when you're ready, you'll reach for the camera. You reach for the camera, I'll stand next to you as you do it. I'll go over it 3 or 4 times with you, make sure you know what you're doing. I'll stand with you, for your first shift of going through photos, and I'll let you know, hey, on this one we got to do this, on this we have to do this, but everything is the same. So like the only thing that would change was like a Harley shirt. When the huge graphic is on the back, taking a photo of the front that has no graphic is not the best thing that we could do for this shirt. So we need to display it with the best photo as the first photo. I only need to tell you that one time for you to understand it. So we would go through the photo process, and after you're done with the photo process, we would sit down at the computer. I would list a few. When you're ready to take over, you'll let me know. And, I'll let you know it's just strictly data entry. You don't need to know any of this stuff. You need to change out brand, you need to change out size, you need to change out color, upload photos, make sure the item specific match the photos and the title, make sure the description matches, and then click save as draft. That's all you have to do. So take photos, very easy. Everything is the same. Everything gets photographed in the same exact way, same exact sequence, same exact process. And as far as listing goes, it's the same sequence, same process. All you're doing is just data entry. That's it. And without a doubt in my mind, you will be able to list 100 items on the first day.
Okay. So I want this group to succeed, and I want everyone to start to create this momentum. So let's try this. I want to put together a day. Everyone, give us your feedback. We can do it virtually. We can do a Zoom meeting, and we'll say, okay, 9 o'clock, everybody show up. Maybe we'll do it on a Saturday or a Sunday. Everyone show up, and for an hour, we'll take photos as the group. Everyone take photos at the same time. If you need, I'll demonstrate a couple of photos. You demonstrate a couple of photos. We'll take photos for an hour. Then I guess we could discuss what happened. And then in the second half of the day, we can do the listing part. Maybe that will have everyone be clear about it, because how come it's not a physical thing? Anyone that shows up that can hold the camera could do listings like you do it. And in this group, we have you to model, and yet hardly anybody models what you do, or is even remotely close. You would think that with you as the leader and me as a leader, people would be able to develop their listing habit. That's what we want. That's the greatest gift ever. Getting to the point where your listing is automatic is the most magical thing on eBay.
Right. And the select few people that have modeled are probably up six figures without a
100%.
doubt in the last year.
Yeah.
So like the proof is in the pudding. It's right there. Nothing inside of my process is difficult, is extra, is out of the ordinary. In fact, it's the opposite. Everything is simple. Everything is basic. Everything is, as foolproof as possible. And in fact, it's the easiest way to do it. And if you just model and take what you can from the process and use it inside of your process, and the kicker is everyone can come show up to that workshop and they can do it for one day. But one day doesn't matter. One day doesn't mean anything. It means nothing to me. One day means nothing. But if you show up to the workshop and you do it for 100 days, that's something to talk about and that's something to discuss. But if you're just going to show up and do it one time, one day, then don't come. I only want to deal with and work with people that are going to do this for 100 days or 200 days or 1,000 days. Anybody can do anything for one day.
Yeah, I agree with that. The consistency over years is it's unbeatable, and inconsistently never adds up to anything.
Right. And the unfortunate part is when you say you want to sell stuff on eBay, you're signing up to list every single day.
Yeah.
There's no two ways around it. That's what you're signing up to do. If you don't want to list every single day, pick another platform that doesn't require you to list every single day. Go sell on Amazon where it's just strictly based on, the sales rank of the item, and find all sales rank number one. And you only have to do that 4 times a month and buy 10,000 SKUs of each sales rank number one, and you'll sell all your items. But if you want to sell on eBay, you have to have new listings going up every single day if you want to have, maximized or even very good results.
So I think when we do this experiment with everybody, we'll do 11 listings with a goal of 10. Everyone can bank one and learn how to do a little bit more. So you have extra in case something comes up. You'll be okay. If internet goes down or something happens and you can't list that day, you have a bank that you can launch so that the store stays consistent. I think I think it does require the automatic. If it's not automatic, it's nothing. It has to be to the point where you don't have to think about it at all. If it doesn't get there, then you're going to be just up and down because, we were talking to Michelle. I was talking to Michelle this morning and asking why she's been consistent to every single call as the women's clothing coach. And hopefully it's to the point now where she doesn't have to think about it. That's just her slot. She comes in every week, works through it, does it. And if we could just get everyone in this group to have the same thing with their listing, it also helps everybody in your family get on board. There was a lot of chatter with people saying that people in their family are not on board, but I, that goes away when you have a 9 to 5. They expect you to be at work during that time.
Right. But the thing is like once people are consistent and the spouse sees the money coming in, they get on board real quick and they
Yeah.
start taking it serious real quick. So, you said something important, like we need to make this automatic. And I already know the answer for me.
Okay.
How do you make it automatic? The answer for me is when I wake up, the first thing that I do is check all the offers that came in overnight because I want to make money. I want to sell items that came in overnight.
Mm-hmm.
So after I check offers, I automatically move to responding to messages. After that, I automatically move to handling returns, automatically move to handling cancellations, sending invoices. Now we're going to start taking photos. Now we're going to start shipping, whatever your layout of the day is. But what is the first thing in your day that makes everything automatic? Because for me, it's accepting those offers and automatically moving to doing messages. And throughout the rest of the day, everything is automatic.
Thank you, everybody, for listening this week. That concludes this week's podcast. Please make sure to join our Patreon at patreon.com/theresourcepodcast and join at the $35 level for the Facebook group. You can ask for a store review. You can join all of our mastermind calls, which are live Monday through Friday. We have over 20 live calls per week. So we'll see you guys inside the group. Thank you again. We appreciate everyone. See you next week.